Hi everyone, I'm Martin Parsons, and today my colleagues and I are going to be reflecting on teaching during the coronavirus through the lens of an international video podcast exchange project that we've just completed. Now basically the idea of this project was that students would create a short video podcast of some cultural or historical aspect of their own country. Now that could have been something like, high culture or some traditional culture or something much more popular and contemporary. When they completed their podcast, it was uploaded to a website called Padlet, where all the students could see the videos and give feedback and make comments.
Martin and I have been doing similar Japan-China podcasting projects and wanted to include another country this year. So we included Russia because I have long-term colleagues there that I contacted who then asked if they could find people that could participate. We didn't use the US or Australia, for example, because we wanted to use students who are learning English as a foreign language in a non-native environment. And so that's why we chose Russia as a potential partner. And Lisa joined the project, which is great.
Hello, I'm Elizaveta Shikhova, and I'm a language teacher at ITMO University in St. Petersburg, Russia. And I'm very honored to be a part of this project. I would like to thank Mike and Martin, who made this conversation happen. They reached out to us, me and my colleagues in Russia, and we really appreciate that. During the initial conversation, ideas surfaced around the ways that teachers from different countries might collaborate given the historic moment of global pandemic. To further develop these ideas, teachers and interested students have launched this now online transnational podcast project.
Well, we started the semester much later than the Russians and the Chinese, so we were always behind, and I felt like I was rushing throughout the project, and that was a little bit difficult. But the most difficult thing was not being able to meet the students face to face in the classroom. It really helps a lot when you can actually sit and talk with somebody and show them in a video where there seems to be a problem or where some work needs to be done. And that was very, very difficult, I found. But it wasn't just difficult for me. I think it was really challenging for the students too. Because in this kind of a project, there are always some students who either have a little bit of experience with it or just seem to take to it naturally. And then there are others who really need a lot of help. And I just wasn't able to give it to them.
One challenge of the project were time zones. I was stuck in Finland during the project, so I had to wake up at 4 a.m. on Mondays to teach my classes in China because the Chinese students kept to the original schedule. Martin was in Japan and Lisa was in St. Petersburg, so we also had different time zones when we had to schedule meetings or organize different activities where we had to be together in one place. One challenge with a project like this is the communication channels between the teachers. What you need to do is set up one communication channel where all the teachers check that at some agreed upon regular interval. So then you're able to move forward and you don't have to worry about people getting duplicate messages or trying to spread the communication over 2 or 3 or 4 different kinds of communication channels. If everybody knows to check, for example, what's up at a particular time, at a particular day, then everybody can send regular messages to each other.
As a millennial, I'm a very digital person myself, so I usually communicate with my students through different types of social media. Teaching at ITMO has its perks. My students are mostly gamers. So when the pandemic hit us, there was no need to think twice. Discord was an obvious choice. All my students had an account there, and I just had to send them an invite.
Challenge during the time of COVID was teaching on Zoom and the breakout groups. That the breakout groups were designed so that when the teacher joined the group, that students could see that immediately, and they either changed their subjects or were silent. So then the teacher didn't know what they were doing, or I didn't know what they were doing when I wasn't there. So I don't know if they were speaking Chinese. I don't know if they weren't speaking at all. So I don't really know what all the groups were doing while they were in their own breakout groups. So that was one of the challenges that I didn't know what to do with.
As I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest challenges for me was not being able to meet the students face to face. So I had to find some other way of making contact with them. And mostly I did that through Line, the messenger app. And that's quite a useful thing because most students in Japan are using Line and it's on their telephone and they've got it with them all the time. So I was able to actually get in touch with students fairly quickly, which was good. On the other hand, I was receiving and answering messages at all hours of the day and night, and that was a little bit of a problem.
When I reflect on student attitudes towards making a project like this, one of the things that comes forward are the video skills that students really liked making their own podcasts and learning how to edit videos using video editing software that they weren't familiar with before. Another aspect is that they really liked communicating with students from other countries and getting feedback from them and knowing that their videos would be watched by students from a different country. This expanded their horizons, and I even had students who would come in the class to watch the videos when they came in from the other countries when we did this live. Of course, this time it was all online, so they were able to watch as many of the videos as they wanted or share them with their friends if they wanted.
I think the students acutely felt the sudden disconnection from the familiar milieu. This was the main reason I used not the traditional mail-to-mail communication, but a Discord server, which is basically a chat room. That ongoing conversation with my students created a sense of togetherness. The students were free to choose any topic that resonated with them. The only restriction was they have to talk about their country's history and culture. I encouraged them to be creative, to reflect on their own experience, and our young explorers were drawn to different aspects of their own culture. We used Padlet as an interactive platform, and I think it was an impactful way of using it as a space for students to create their own nexus of connections. In this space, they could express themselves, communicate, represent the complex cultural environment they live in. Students were actively contributing to learning and sharing, and always in conversation with each other.
The other thing I tried to do was create more written explanations and descriptions of how to do this project than I would have done had we been in the classroom. I felt that students probably really needed that little bit of extra support to fall back on when they were by themselves at home trying to make a video. Did they read those descriptions or not? I'm not sure, but I felt it was really useful that they had them.
So the COVID-19 classes were quite different from my normal live classes. In a normal live classroom, I quite often move the students around, we move the desks, and I can manage the classroom a lot better than I can online. The students said themselves that when they're in online classes, they tend to talk less. Now, my classes, I always met them live. I didn't do these classes where you videotape your lecture and then they just watch that whenever.
I'm not quite sure just yet exactly how this would change my approach to teaching. To be honest, we've only just finished the semester and I haven't really had much time to reflect on this. But one thing I found this during this pandemic, and not just in this particular project, but in general in teaching, was that I thought I needed to provide more video and audio activities for students, both me making them and asking them to produce things. And I have a feeling that that worked quite well just from general feedback from the students. So I suspect I'll probably try to incorporate that into lessons in the future, even when we are in the classroom.
This project changed the way that I teach in the sense that I made my teaching much more systematic because when we were teaching online, I wanted everything to follow like one step after another. And then because I was locked down during COVID, I had the time and the energy in order to like really put the time into each lesson and make it work in a much more systematic way than I normally do. Because normally I have the students there face to face and lecture more or interact more. And I wasn't leaving anything up to chance because I didn't want the students to have a negative experience in any of my classes this term. That was one thing that the COVID-19 did, is it integrated the learning management system much more into my classes.
I think this project is a powerful opportunity for teachers to come together, to rethink the traditional learners' peer-to-peer interactions, that sort of monologous nature of students' podcast, and turn it into something truly interactive. Students tested their abilities to have their voices heard and their perspectives and knowledge to imagine a different way for cultural exchange. I think it was really powerful to see different cultures represented through the lenses of our new generations. It was a way for them to say, this is our world, this is us. Thank you.